So good evening, everyone. Let's start with our today's session. So yesterday we discussed about using a password manager and why it is important to use a password manager. So let's revise that first, and then we'll move on to today's module. So in previous module we discussed about password managers and why it is important to use password manager because it helps us secure our passwords, help us secure our passwords and store it securely. After that, it also allows us to generate strong and unique password for each of our online accounts. And then we discuss about what is the need for those password manager. People tend to forgot their passwords, so it helps them keeping them remember those passwords. Even better that they don't have to remember their password as it stores their password. It also tells us that about the data breaches that have occurred and their credentials have leaked or not. So that is why we need password managers. After that, we discussed what are the benefits of using password manager. So the benefits were it allows us to generate strong password. It saves our time, secure sharing. So this is all we discussed in the benefits of password manager. After that, we discussed about how the password managers work. Like we just have to create and remember one single master password that will be used to log into that account, and it will then store and encrypt our credentials and store it. And whenever we visit the website, it autofills it securely. After that, we discuss some examples of the password managers and what are the features that we must look for while looking for a or while searching for a better password manager. So there were some features like end-to-end encryption, multi-factor authentication, password generator tool, breach alerts, cross-device syncing, and zero-knowledge policy. So these were the features that we must look for while searching for a better password manager. And there were some free password managers that are available to us, for example, like Bitwarden, NordPass, LastPass, KeyPass. So these were some examples that we discussed, and then we discussed about how to create an account on Bitwarden, then the tips to set up a master password, how long it should be, how many characters it should have, and what will the combination or what is the character combination that it must contain, and it must not contain personal information. So these were the tips of setting a master password. After that, we discussed about how we can protect our home network because password managers usually protect our online accounts. So it is very important to protect our accounts, protect our home network as well. So to home protect our home network, we must set up a strong Wi-Fi password, change default router admin password, and enable network encryption, update router firmware regularly, and turn off features like WPS and remote access. So this is what we discussed in our previous session. So now today's session we'll be discussing about some key security concepts. Today's objective will be understanding the essential components of cybersecurity infrastructure. Like what are the components that are very essential and very important for a cybersecurity infrastructure. We'll learn about critical security technologies like antivirus, firewall, encryption, how these things work and why are they important, what are the benefits of using these technologies. We'll be discussing about that. After that, we'll be discussing about some advanced concepts like steganography and computer forensics, like how people can use these techniques and try to exploit the vulnerabilities. And why do we use computer forensics and what are the benefits of computer forensics? So now let's move on. First, we have antivirus softwares. You might have heard a lot about antivirus softwares. There are a lot of antivirus softwares available online. So, what is an antivirus software? Basically, it is a program designed to detect, prevent, and remove malware. So, these softwares are designed in such a manner that it will detect and prevent the malware from attacking us, and it will, if it is present, it will remove the malware. So, how do they do that? What happens is a file, when you create a file and when whatever content you put in that file, it generates a specific signature or an ID for that file. Whenever the content of that file is changed, that ID is changed. So what happens now is every virus that is coded or is programmed or designed, it have that unique ID, and those unique IDs are stored in a database that these files are malicious files, and act and exploit on vulnerabilities. So antivirus software basically is a database of all those IDs or unique IDs of those file, or you can say a file signature. That unique ID is known as a file signature. So antivirus software is basically a database of those file signatures that are viruses. And every file they scan on a device is basically a matching of that file signature with the file present on our device. So it will take that one file from our device and get its file ID or a file signature and then scan it through its database, that if that file is present or not. So that is how it detects the malware on our device. And that is how an antivirus software works. Now, what are the key functions of an antivirus software? Key functions are it scans files and programs that are present on the device. It identifies and removes viruses, worms, and trojans that are present on our device. Provides real-time protection. Whenever a file is downloaded on our device, it will run that file signature through its database and check if that file is a malicious file or not. If it is a malicious file, it will quarantine it, ask us for our approval to delete it. And if it is a major, like with a high severity virus, then it will just delete that file without even asking. So this is how an antivirus software works, and these are the key function of antivirus. Now, examples of antivirus software are Norton, McAfee, Bitdefender, Avast. So these are some examples of an antivirus software. Best practices to use an antivirus are keep your antivirus updated. What it does, it will update the database that is updated on a frequent basis with the new virus signatures that are, or new file signatures of viruses that are evolving or present in today's date. So keep your antivirus softwares updated. Schedule regular scans. What happens most of the time, we have duplicate files on our devices, so some files might get skipped, or if we download something and it might have slipped due to some misconfiguration, that regular scan will detect it and remove from our device. We also should avoid downloading unknown attachments from online websites. So it is a best practice to avoid downloading unknown attachments. So this is about an antivirus software and how it works, what are the functions of it. Now we'll move on to firewalls. Now, what is a firewall? Firewall is basically a network security device that monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic. So firewalls are also basically of two types: hardware firewall and software firewall. Now, what firewall does, it basically uh, monitors the traffic going through your device and the network. So what it does, when a request comes to the firewall, it will ask the request that where does it want to go, and it will direct it after it has the configuration or approval for that request to pass. That is how a basic firewall works. It will block the access if it is not authorized. So we have two types of firewall: hardware firewall and software firewall. Hardware firewall are router based firewalls. What happens is, in this router, it will block all those requests or block all those traffic for a website that is configured in that router. Let's say, for example, some gaming websites that are present on internet are blocked by the router. Now what it will do, whenever a request for those site goes through it and it returns with the data of that website, it will just block that website and drop that request, and it will show a custom page to you that this site is not allowed to open. So that is how a hardware firewall works. Now a software firewall is installed on devices. This also works the same way, but it is now installed on your devices, and it works on a software level. You won't be able to send requests to that website. So these kind of things can be done by using those firewalls. Now the functions of firewalls are block unauthorized access. It will not allow you to access the sites that are unauthorized. Creates a barrier between secure internal networks and untrusted external networks. So it will be a barrier between the secure internal networks and untrusted external networks. What happens most of the times is whenever you download any kind of a malicious file on your device, it will try to establish a connection with your device to an online server where the attacker is sitting or attacker is connected to. So what the firewall will do, firewall will check its list of authorized network, and it will, based on that, it will allow or not allow or block that request. So most of the time it will block the access to that, or it will not allow the server to connect and create a connection between your device and the malicious server that it is trying to connect. Now, best practices to use firewalls are: enable firewall on all of your devices, regularly update your firewall settings. So best practices to use firewalls are: first of all, you have to enable firewall on all of your devices, like laptops, mobile devices, and every device which has a firewall. After that, you have to regularly update your firewall settings and keep checking if there is a change in a firewall setting or there are update in firewall settings. So this is about firewalls. Now we'll move on to encryption. Now, what is encryption? Encryption is basically a method of converting information into a secret code to prevent unauthorized access. Now, what do you mean by an unauthorized access or a secret code? We have discussed in previous sessions like data uh, interception. Now, data interception or man in the middle attack, how does it occur? The attacker will uh, put itself put himself in middle of the your device and the server, and every traffic or a request that is going through that network will be going through the attacker. And now, if there's no encryption, then the attacker will be able to read your data like we are able to see the data on our screen. Like it is written encryption, we can read it. Hacker can also in the same way read the data that is going through the network. So if the data is encrypted, the hacker won't be able to understand or read the data that is going through the network, because it won't be in the plain text like it is on our screen. Like encryption is written in plain text, it will be just jumbled characters. Like encryption will be written in some different kind of a way that is not understandable or that is not readable to a human. So that is what is known as encryption. It is a method of converting information into a secret code to prevent unauthorized access. Now, there are two types of encryption: symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric encryption, it tells us that it has the same key for encryption and decryption. Asymmetric, public and private keys. Now, first we discuss about symmetric. Symmetric encryption is basically if we supply this term encryption to that function which encrypts symmetrically, it will generate a key. Basically what it will do, let's take an example. There's a room and it has a one door, and door also have a lock. Now the door is locked. If the door is locked, we need a key to unlock it and enter it, right? So encryption works the same way. If the data is encrypted, you will need a key to unlock it and see the data and read it. So symmetric, what it does, it will have that same key to encrypt it, to lock it, and to unlock it. So that is what is known as symmetric encryption. Now asymmetric encryption. Now let's take an example of an hotel. Now what happens is you go and rent a room over there. After that, they gave you a key, which is known as a public key. But the manager of the hotel also have one master key which can unlock that same door. So that is a private key to the manager or to the post manager, and public key is public for the customers. Like, and if you rent out check out from that hotel, and someone checks into the same room, that key will be given to that another customer. But the manager will have that same key which can unlock the same door of the same room. So that is what is known as asymmetric, where public and private keys are used to encrypt and decrypt. Private keys are used to encrypt the data and public keys are used to decrypt the data. So this is about types of encryption, symmetric and asymmetric. Now, applications of encryption, where we use encryption. As I as I gave you an example just now, like man in the middle attack, if the data is not encrypted, the hacker can or attacker can see your data, what is going through the network. But if the data is encrypted, it cannot be readable. So secure communication is one of the application of encryption. For example, we have WhatsApp messages that are encrypted, the network traffic that is encrypted, the HTTPS, that S stands for secure, that data is encrypted. Online transaction, SSL and TLS, secured socket layer, and TLS is transport layer secure. So online transactions are also secured and encrypted. Data storage security. Data storage security is also an application of encryption, as the data stored in the databases are encrypted before they are stored in the database. Password managers also use encryption so that they can store your credentials and only you can access it while you want to fetch those credentials. No one else will be able to read it if they are stored in the database with encryption. So that is also an application for encryption. Now, what is the importance of using encryption? It protects our sensitive data, maintains confidentiality and integrity. So that is the main importance of encryption. It protects the sensitive data. We won't be able to read that data, like what is going to the internet or what is present there. So it protects the sensitive data and it maintains confidentiality and integrity of the data. Now we have steganography. What is steganography? It is the practice of hiding messages within other non-secret text or media. So steganography is basically, you have seen a lot of images online where you have to spot six differences in that images, right? So to spot those differences, you have to focus, like they are hidden in such a way that they can be seen. So steganography is similar, like we hide messages and media inside that image in such a way that it is not visible, but if we want to extract it, we can extract it. So there are techniques that steganography can be used, are embedding text in images. So we can embed text in images in such a way that it won't be visible anywhere in the image, but it is hidden inside its configuration. So we can embed text in images, concealing files within audio. We can also conceal files within audio files, hiding messages in video streams. We can also hide messages in video streams. So there are a lot of use cases for steganography, like covert communication, watermarking for copyright protection. So these are some use cases where steganography is used. Risks. It can be misused for malicious purposes. So these things are misused for malicious purposes. Like I hide a message in an image and I send that image to someone else and they decode it, and then we have like talking to each other in such a way that our conversation is encrypted, and the person or the third person who will be seeing that conversation will just get to see some images that are shared between me and the other person. So that is how it can be misused for malicious purposes. Now, computer forensics. What is computer forensics? The application of investigation and analysis techniques to gather and preserve evidence from a computer system. Now, when a data breach or an attack has occurred, how do we get to know what is stolen and what uh, were the vulnerabilities that were exploited? That is the way where computer forensics comes into play. It is basically the investigation and analysis techniques that allows us to gather and preserve evidence from a computer system. In computer forensics, there are a lot of processes and there are a lot of techniques where how in which we can extract evidences from a computer system that it that the computer was compromised and how much data is being transferred from that computer. So the key processes includes identifying digital evidence. First process is identifying the digital evidence. What is the digital evidence other than the device? Like, for example, let's say the hacker tricked the user to download a malicious file, which was a virus, and then established a network connection to that device and gained access to that device. So that file that the person downloaded that allowed the hacker to gain access to the device is a digital evidence, preserving the evidence integrity. Now, preserving the evidence integrity, the file that is downloaded will be quarantined and made copies of it so that the signature of that file remains the same. And that signature can be used to analyze the files or analyze the previous hacks or breaches that have been occurred. That is that the same file that they have used to attack this one also. So that is how the preserving the evidence of integrity preserving the integrity of the evidence works. Now, analyze the evidence is like malware analysis. What that malware has done, that it established the connection with that server or with the attacker. So malware analysis is basically reverse engineering all the code and understanding that the flow of the malware, that how it started and how it worked. After that, present findings in the legal proceedings. After those three processes, the findings that have been, or the conclusion that have been, inference that have been deduced from those processes are presented in legal proceedings. So the tool used in these processes are NCASE, forensic toolkit, and autopsy. Now, these things are important because it helps us solve cyber crimes. It helps support legal investigation, ensures compliance with regulations. So these are the things that is why a cyber forensics is important. Now, let's moving on to our assignment for today is that you have to write an explainer blog post or article of around 400 to 500 words on how encryption and authentication work together in a secure communication. So you have to write a blog post or an article on how encryption and authentication work together in secure communication. You have to complete your assignment and upload on this forms link, or you can scan this QR code. You have to upload your assignment and you have to close the form, as it will not submit until you have uploaded all 10 assignments. So we are on module 8, so you have to upload your module 8 assignment and you have to close the form. Now, let's move on to our quiz round. Question number 1 is, what does a firewall do? So a firewall will block unauthorized access to, or it will block the unauthorized access to the network, and it creates a barrier between secure internal networks and untrusted external networks. Now, name one tool used in computer forensics. Autopsy, NCASE, FTK, these are some tools that are used in computer forensics. Now, what is the difference between asymmetric and symmetric encryption? So, symmetric encryption uses the same key for encryption and decryption, but asymmetric encryption uses public and private keys for encryption and decryption. So, key takeaways for today's session are: antivirus protects against malware, and we must have an antivirus software on our devices to keep ourselves in check that the data that we have on our devices is secure. And we also schedule regular scan or regular antivirus scan on our devices to keep ourselves ensured that the data present on our devices are secure and we don't have any malicious software downloaded on our devices. Firewalls safeguard network. We must enable firewalls on our all devices as it will allow or add an extra layer of security on our devices, because in today's world we are constantly connected to internet and connecting to internet is a threat. So firewalls protect us from malicious files or blocked unauthorized access to our devices. Encryption secures information. Encryption protect us or protect our data from malicious attackers, and it maintains confidentiality and integrity. Steganography hides information cleverly and it can be used for malicious purposes, but it also has several positives, like it helps us in covert communications, it helps in watermarking for copyright issues. Computer forensics helps investigate and resolve cybercrimes. Computer forensics is one important branch that helps us detect cybercrimes and report them in legal proceedings. Now, cybersecurity requires a combination of these key concepts to build a safe and secure digital world. Thank you guys for joining today's session. We'll be seeing you in last two sessions on next week. I hope you complete your assignment and submit it on time. Thank you guys. Have a good day.